Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Hey, welcome everybody back to Freight Executive Insights. I am Mike Vincent. I'm not the freight executive with the insights, but I got a guy here who is he's pulling off some transformative things and really cool things. I'm excited to introduce you all to Chris Jamroz. If you don't know him, he's super cool. He's the CEO and chairman of the board, right, at Roadrunner.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I just got your name pronunciation down. I'm not going to tell you how I asked how you pronounce your name because I was way off. Wasn't even close. So tell me what's going on. I think it's so cool what you guys are doing at Roadrunner. In particular, I love the new graphics, man. This Roadrunner all jacked up on steroids and breaking stuff in half and just this mean look like we're going to take the world by storm, man. Tell me about how you got, first of all, who is the new Roadrunner? Well, there's a lot of people out there that knew the old one, right?
Definitely no steroids. It's a complete organic, sustainable vegan.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Great protein, and that muscle was all in. Well, no steroids included, because I think Roadrunner had a propensity to using artificial inducers, and that kind of didn't end well. And the new Roadrunner is a fantastic version of its original idea from the 1990s, where two companies, a Roadrunner and Dawes from Cudahy, Wisconsin, merged forces and created a unique product in the trucking space, shooting direct loads from the heart of the Midwest directly to the West. And they offered value, they run teams, drivers, and they had effectively an expedited product at the standard LTL rates. And that was an immensely good idea. It worked extremely well, built quite a following. Back then, it was a lineup of drivers, would you believe, waiting to join the ranks of Roadrunner because it was just such a phenomenal place to work. So what we've done, there's no point, rehashing the story and what happened through, the kind of the dark era of the 2010s following the IPO, and so not so good characters getting hold of decision making in the business. But effectively, since 2021, we embarked on this mission of how can we, the phrase of going back to basics is overused, and I kind of don't like it because it just means so many things. But we effectively look at the original recipes, is that can we make it better? And what we did, we built up a national footprint of terminals, built a truly, Pan-American, transcontinental network of terminals and endpoints connecting different regions directly, and going back to what we used to do, which was running the owner-operators, teams, drivers, direct, reducing the, reloading points, not using the hub and spoke, and kind of providing great, fast service at the great value.
It's fantastic. I grew up in the LTL environment. I was a roadway guy in the late 80s and through into the late 90s.
What a good company that was.
It was great training too, right? It was pretty. They wrote the book, right? The people would try and thieve the operations manual because it was quite extensive and very detailed and quite good. I mean, Galen and Carol Roush knew what they were doing when they built up that company. That is for sure. So how do you get around? Because I worked at a very niche carrier here in Chattanooga, right, for the floor covering industry. And one of our key things, it was LTL, but it was for floor covering, broadloom carpeting and pallets of stone and floor. But all of the sourcing of that material comes from Northwest Georgia. Maybe a lot of people don't know that, but floor covering, it comes from Northwest Georgia, period, the end. I mean, if you got a carpet, about 90% sure it came from Dalton, Georgia. And so you had the density to be able to launch to Seattle every day with a full load of LTL, right? Or to San Francisco or to wherever it was with multiple trailers, 4, 5, 6 a week. How do you guys build that in at Roadrunner? Because you said you kind of stay away from the hub and spoke, which is highly it's susceptible to a lot of errors and costs, right? So in service, it slows down service. How do you build that density to be able to go around that?
It costs money, and you have to have the courage of conviction. You would know that better than most. You're not going to be particularly profitable if you start running scheduled on-time service and you're overcoming the startup of the new markets issues, you're overcoming past reputational issues, or effectively, that was straight out hatred towards Roadrunner when I first walked in. We just see our people yelling, literally yelling. We just, for good and not so good reasons, but, the company's managed to alienate an incredible constituency of customers who, excuse me, who have trusted the freight to the business and, ended, waiting up weeks to get it. So we invested a lot of money. We just thought that, we're going to do this very well. We even make it worse for ourselves. What we did, we eliminated rail from the mix. And the rail is this good kind of a cost component that helps you keep the cost down. It does horrible things to a customer. Horrible. Really. Probably was. And you go on LinkedIn, go on, YouTube, look what's happening with looting in the railway yards, what's happening with, with the train stoppages, the containers get lost, they get delayed. You lose visibility of this freight completely once you put it in things. You're introducing an extra level of complexity because you have the drayage component, right? So somebody needs to pick up that container, move it from your terminal to the railway yard, put it on the car, and then the receiving end, the destination point, do the reverse.
Yeah. If you're crossing in Chicago, you got to get it from one rail yard to the other, right?
We haven't in rail yards in Chicago on top of it. The German in Chicago, super nice town to cross, in traffic. I mean, it's a delight. So it's
smooth as butter, man. It just goes no problems.
Yeah. So you had like a recipe to really anger your clients every single day, multiple times a day if you do it. So you did the path that, a lot of people scratch their heads, look at the, if it was a sort of if I'm of a sane mild, but I did commit us to, eliminating railway from our mix completely, introducing complete custodian controls of freight. So that sort of, the integrity of the supply chain of visibility and providing that visibility to customers, introducing a static load plan. So we basically, clients knew that we would be, and shippers knew that we were going to dispatch that trailer from the Tuesday is going to get, to the destination point by Friday, and we're going to deliver the shipment on time.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of things that were just a little bit crazy for Roadrunner because we were known as a origin consolidation play, as you probably heard. So we were waiting, traditionally, the Roadrunner waited until the trailers became full before the start. Yeah, now, great things from a cost perspective because, it's that you don't make money, dispatching those trailers off empty, right? Which we, for the first 2.5 years, that's exactly what we did. Not a great financial performance, but it was an investment because I strongly held my belief that once you get the quality, the volume will follow and the customer approval will make it all the sort of a valid investment pieces that were made. It was scary at times. It took us 2.5 years, but today's, as you see, we've got that, monster good seal of approvals from Massachusetts. We got the customers kind of coming back in and excited about using us. But over the last 2.5 years, it was straight out scary.
Yeah. So are you going point to point? I mean, direct neighborhood terminal, so to speak, to neighborhood terminal direct or city to city direct? Or do you do some regional hub and spoke?
And we can do sub-regional, and we do, because not everybody needs, things, directly from LA to business day.
Right.
Our bread and butter is those long line haul, direct. But we do, obviously, every customer is different. It's just there are others who do it extremely well. You have the big hitters.
I remember the signs on the roadway dock, right, in Toledo, Ohio, where I started as a supervisor, right, and you would have like from Toledo to like Seattle or wherever, and it would have the cut times, right? It would like Tuesday, 7 o'clock, we'll make it for next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And there was this list on this thing that you'd have to look at and then look at each way bill and decide when you've given that trailer. And it was insane. I mean, so many people missed service just because they miscalculated how many days it took and didn't understand, holidays and weekends and all that other kind of stuff. Where yours, it seems simple. As if you're a supervisor when you're docked, man, it's 7 o'clock Tuesday, that trailer closes it. Come on. Even at half full, 3/4 full, whatever. Make sure everything's on it and go. Right.
Yeah. So this is an interesting point that, particularly we replace those calculations with AI and machine learning because it's, but you still have the sign-offs and the approvals. We have kind of focused on, because you can change modes, you can route non-superbly time-sensitive trade through hub and spoke, actually, or you can hold it by a day and dispatch it on a Teams truck, right? And you're still going to get it on the same timeline directly, and it could be a better service. The point is that we're transforming in those decision-making away from humans to more of our algorithmic calculations, because that's sort of picking modes can be tricky. And as you pointed out, people make mistakes, right? We calculate one thing and, suddenly it's just a domino of effects, right? Because they've consolidated shipments. If you
in LTL, and especially in hub and spoke, an hour can be a day.
Exactly. So we've put a lot of technology into our in the network in our operations. That is effectively hugely driving our improvements. We have algorithmic dispatches and the routing of pickups and deliveries, picking out modes that we choose to select from, and on top of that is just this psychotic, relentless, unapologetic push for operational excellence. I did say 2.5 years ago that we're going to be the best LTL player in the specialty sector. I mean, it didn't even get lives. People just rolled their eyes and moved on. A few people laughed. Not a lot of people are laughing today, though. I can tell you that.
No, and I applaud what you've done, because I've had that argument before and lost it, where it was like, hey, if we just do, here's a service we're going to provide. This is what service that people want, right? Let's do that no matter what it is. And we're going to lose on these. We had enough volume to where you could actually go through and say, okay, we're probably going to take our consistent 91, 92 OR and jump it into a 98, 99, sometimes a 101, which is, you don't want a 3-digit OR, but it's going to happen. But the potential for volume and what we could save in operations and hub and spoke and so many other things, eventually, a year out or 2 years out, that adoption, you can drop that thing into the 80s consistently, easy with your operation. You've taken a ton of expense out of it as well, though, right? And along with taking the risk of sending a half full or 3/4 full truck down the road for a few years till the service get recognized, you've also taken a ton of operating expense out of it by eliminating a lot of that hub and spoke, right?
You do. And there's also the derivative of that, which is the claims, the losses, the damages, etc. Every time they have the forklifts driving inside that trailer to pick a pallet to transload it, cross that when we're doing hub and spoke, things happen. They're not exactly the most, brain surgery quality precise instruments, right? They pierce frame, things falls off, the accidents, etc. So you're saving costs directly by bypassing that hub and spoke, but you're also delivering a better product by the virtue of eliminating stress points in those high risk touch points that are, that plague the LTL industry is by definition.
Yeah, you must have reduced your OS&D's costs tremendously by eliminating that as well, right? I mean, you just talk to it. Going across the dock, I always called it overage theft or overages, theft and damage, not overage shortages. OS&D, it was OTD, because I'm like, somebody has it and they know they're not supposed to. So it was either intentional or just unintentional theft, and that it's wound up in the wrong place. But that's got to be a huge thing to cost you.
Huge. huge. And, that's obviously great from financial terms, but it's even better because the customers are not filing with claims. And that's the beauty of it. The cost is the one thing, but we embarked on, like you was, I was not shooting for Olympic gold on financial performance the last 2.5 years. It was just a kind of commitment that or conviction rather, that if we get this right, the customer will reward us and shippers will come back and they'll come in strides and we're going to fill out the shirt. Now, it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. We obviously, today, I sleep a lot better now sleeping prior years when we were running literally those things, less than half empty at times. Or that we would do what we said we would do. But that's paying off. I mean, it's very simple, but it's not as, when you have investors, when you have shareholders, when you have all these stakeholders, constituencies that you have to answer to, that's not an easy sell. Just as, trust me, I know what I'm doing. But it is those companies who have the agility, who have that, that grit and discipline and have a good plan, because it has to be a very good plan and even better execution, that in the end of the day win. And that's where we definitely see ourselves in the midterm and in the long term.
You must have a strong, I would hazard a guess that you have a very, very strong or focused intelligence in your pricing and your sales strategies, right? Because freight mix is so important to LTL. You got to utilize that KIM as much as possible. And in your model, when you started, I mean, that was obvious, from the very beginning. We got to figure out how to fill this cube as quickly as possible while we're doing it as service, because you just committed to just running that trailer full or not, right? And when you start to shrink that timeline of when it closes, you start to shrink those opportunities of getting that perfect piece of freight or that perfect volume of, Armalite sponge to throw over top of those steel ingots or car parts or whatever it happens to be to, maximize that revenue cube that's on that trailer, right? I mean, about that focus, you got to have strong focus and knowledge in your sales force and pricing, right?
So we do have an extremely strong focus on the cube utilization, but we are very early innings in that game, superbly early innings. It just, when I kind of think about where we want to be, we know it, but we have algorithmic loading protocols, we have cube utilization guidelines, we have a lot of, the equipment dimensionalizers to make sure that we kind of, we plan the loads effectively. But I know, and, I'm working with a phenomenal technology team, the runway there is enormous. And that's a subject of our investments in the go forward basis, where we're going to kind of effectively perfectuate the loading and the cube utilization aspect. So I would give us, out of 10, we have 2 right now. We're literally second inning. There's just no amount of several. We just superbly early inning. Now with sales, imagine, would you want to be a Roadrunner salesperson in 2020, 2019, 2018?
Hell no. But today, what you're doing now, yeah. Then, no way.
I carry a profound respect and admiration for the salespeople who survived and stayed with us, because I cannot imagine the difficulty and the insurmountable challenge of trying to convince shippers who literally lost the freight by entrusting it with us.
Chris, it's got to be, when they get into this vicious cycle, and I've had that unfortunately happen, and we've gotten out of it in other lifetimes, but you get into this vicious cycle where you go through these patterns or whatever, if service starts to fail, your sales starts to fail, not because they're not doing their job, but because they become customer service reps and not sales reps.
You're right, correct. So this is a great observation. So we've identified a lot of folks who have gone through this and their wounds were so deep and open, they couldn't quite shift they still did have that fear of going in front of customers confidently, and they just couldn't get over it. And we had to part ways with a lot of these folks with even though that they really, they probably will never realize how deeply I'm grateful and I appreciate what they've done. The point is, you cannot go forward if you look in the rearview mirror, and if you and it's and they just have that too much of a trauma of past failures, and so we're in the place of completely rebuilding our team. When you look at our management lineup now, these are folks who are standing in front of the customers, effectively saying, "Hey, listen, I'm selling you the best, top quartile product and execution and incredible value. And you have to do that without any fear, without any hesitation, because this is where we are. And you cannot be stuck in a sort of an apology tour of, apologizing for mistakes of girlfriend's past. And, because those, I always say that movie has played itself out. It's not available on Netflix. It's not available download. It's not available on VHS. Movie's ended. That movie's gone. That Roadrunner is just dead. We marked the official celebrated the funeral of the Roadrunner the day that Master Servers was released this year. This is what gave the thing of reborn, right? Roadrunner reborn. This is a top quality carrier. Yes, we still have ways to close the gap with the best in the industry, but boy, we are in the top quarter, and we're just not. We're going to relentlessly pursue excellence and execution, because frankly, that's the only way for us to go.
That is tremendous. That is tremendous stuff, and I'm really, really happy to see the turnaround. It's a tremendous story. I love when you look at your LinkedIn, and I encourage everybody to visit your LinkedIn and follow you, because you're doing tremendous things there. And I just love your background there with the Roadrunner tearing the old Roadrunner sign in half, which is, and my mistake, no steroids involved, all pure plant-based protein smoothies and
protein-rich diet. Yes,
protein-rich diet. Listen, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, because you're on a trajectory, and I don't want to stop that, because it's a tremendous story. But I really appreciate you coming on, Chris. Is there a final thought or whatever that you want to give out there as your insight? Because what you talked about really was this investment in the future and investment in a conviction. And maybe it's lost in many people. Their conviction is to make money as fast as possible, produce a good foundation that's going to last and be a sustainable quality product or service.
I think it's a phenomenal loss, right? And then it is true. Like, think about it. Everybody, you would do a general hall of public survey sentiment story of Amazon. Everybody would tell you that Amazon was committed to not making money, just perfecting customer service. Everybody actually knows that. But it is so hard to make that decision when you're in the decision-making seat and you're standing in front of the people you're accountable to, people who have entrusted you with the capital, or people who have just effectively, joined the ranks of your employee cohort. And say, guys, listen, we are not going to make money for the next 2.5 years. It's going to be really tough. People are going to try to get hold of our finances and use it against us to show how frail our financial position it is. We're going to effectively, because we're a public company, we're going to weaponize our competitors to use our financial performance against us, but we will commit to making perfect service. Not comparing myself to, the founder of Amazon, which is not the point, but it is the same playbook. You want to perfect something in the customer service, and even if it comes with a huge financial expense, it's so difficult to make. But I would encourage everyone, if you carry that courage of conviction, if you have that belief in your heart, lean into it hard. It does pay off. And Mike, it was such a great pleasure to be on the air with you. I had tremendous fun. Thank you so much for following me, for following us, for your support online and on your media, and looking forward to more opportunity to chat with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it very much. Everybody, thank you for downloading, watching, and tuning into FEI Freight Executive Insights. I'm Mike Vincent. Peace and love, everybody.